So let's go into this. One of the final pillars to build and sustain your school of excellence is your standard operating principles. Your standard operating principles, your SOPs over here, are 3 buckets. We're not going into all 3 buckets today. We're picking one specific bucket, which is the communication bucket, okay? In the communication bucket, this is designed, very specifically here, in the communication standards, there's gossip standards, there's inter-team conflict standards, there's resistance to change, there's communication during meetings, there's a lot more. There's all different kinds of standards that we create. Today, we're going to work on inter-team conflict.
Hi, I'm Hani Wolshansky, mama of 4 and creator of the School of Excellence system. And I'm on a mission to help early childhood leaders build and sustain schools of excellence. So if you want to create a collaborative culture, build efficient systems in your school, and design an environment that can grow your team, then you're in the right place. In the last 15 years that I've been working in the early childhood field, I've become deeply passionate of helping leaders with their mindset, their skills, the tools, and the strategies to build their schools. So each week, I'll share strategies, advice, coaching, and inspiring interviews. I know that you want to create a ripple effect in your school and your life. So let's do this together.
Based on all of the data that you guys gave me before the event started, in all of your forms, in all the conversations that I had with all of you guys, inter-team conflict came up as the reoccurring pattern of where everyone is struggling more than anything else. And so in this next half hour here, we're going to get clarity around how you create a specific standard so that your staff can rise to that. That doesn't mean that tomorrow it's going to be amazing, but what you're going to do is your mindset is already going to be in that mind frame where this is the standard of how we solve problems in our school. How many of you want staff to solve their own problems? Yes, yes, please, right? Amen. Amen. We want our staff to solve their own problems because that leads to less interruptions from us, that leads to more of our own sanity, that leads to time for ourselves to make time for ourselves, which gives us more time to develop our culture, our whatever it is that we're focusing on. This is a huge time suck. And so we have to not completely eliminate it, but at least decrease the amount of time that our staff are coming to us. So how do we do that? Okay, how are we going to do this inter-team conflict? So in the workbook over here, on question number 2, we'll jump straight to question number 2 because just getting feedback again from the people in the room, we want more time to process, we want more time to internalize. So I want to make sure that we're doing that balance of teaching and also giving you time to process. So question number 2, what are some of my personality traits or beliefs that may be part of my communication struggle? When a teacher comes to you and says, she took my purple ball. The magnetals are in her closet, those are mine. And you're thinking, am I running kindergarten? Right? Well, what about your personality traits or your belief is contributing to this communication problem? Where do you think, again, this ties into boundaries, where do you think the communication struggle is for you? Write that down, take a minute or 30 seconds, just write that down. So another layer to this question, and this is such a great question to use with staff also in onboarding, at one-on-ones. What communication blister can we remove that will dramatically improve the morale, the culture, and environment of our school? And with staff, you could do the same thing. What communication blister can we remove from you and your colleague that will dramatically improve your relationship with each other? Because when you frame it in that kind of way, it's like, yeah, there's communication blisters, right? What are blisters? There's those, yeah, you have a question? Oh, we have these blisters. We have these blisters in our shoes, right? And they hurt, and they're constantly a reminder, I got a blister, I got a blister, I got to get a Band-Aid. Well, what's your communication blister? Anyone know what their communication blister is? Yes. I'm sorry? Being too blunt, okay? Thank you. What's your first name again? Trinity, thank you. Somebody else? Yes, speak up. Oh, sorry, Jill, you'll go right after. Donna, what was yours? Whining, okay? So work it out. So I understand that she took your stuff, work it out. Somebody else?
I feel like I'm condescending.
So so when you're having that conversation, you're like breaking it down, it's condescending, right? Okay, I'm not gonna answer that strategy, but yeah.
I jump right to solving the problem.
Yes, straight to fixing, right? Instead of navigating and asking the questions, we jump straight to fixing. That self-awareness piece in itself is so powerful for you. Because what happens is on Monday morning, and this is gonna happen, you're gonna have staff that are gonna come in with their problems. Just by having that awareness of like, okay, I usually jump into fix. I'm not doing that right now. I'm not doing this forever and ever again. I will never do this. That's not happening. In this moment, right now, today, I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to navigate through this conversation. I'm not going to fix. So yesterday, Missy did a whole session on her standard for attendance. Not everyone was able to get into her session, which is fine. I want to explain very briefly what a standard actually is, okay? And you can put this on the notes section over here. A standard is very different than an expectation because a standard is a level of quality that is used for accountability. It's not an expectation. An expectation puts everything on the other person. This is the standard here. This is how we do things in our school. So in our school, if we want staff to be solving their own problems, then the way that we word that standard needs to be worded in a way that gives the teachers the tools that they need to actually do that. This isn't about empowerment. This isn't about motivation. This is about, this is the standard, this is the quality in our school, and this is how things are done here. Just like you have policies. Policies and standards are different. But just like you have a policy, if a child hurts themselves and you need to give a Band-Aid or you need to give an ice pack or whatever it is, you have to file a report. That's a standard. That's the way we do things here. Same thing with inter-team conflict. This is the standard. This is the way we do things here, okay? It's a set of guidelines for how they're going to conduct themselves. So right over here on page 57 in the notes section, a sample standard for communication. When there is a conflict between two or more staff members, all involved parties should do the following, okay? So this is a sample. Again, you don't have to follow this. I'm giving you kind of some Mad Libs. Identify what the problem is, right? Follow the PAR framework. What if your staff followed the PAR framework before they came running in for you to save them? What's the problem we're trying to solve here? What's the problem? Now this one's really powerful. Where are they personally contributing to the challenge? Because when you have two teachers walk in, it's a classic of he said this, she did this, right? It's like when my two kids come home, he did this, I sat on, my daughter Chayla, you guys saw her, she was in the middle here. She slapped me back. I'm like, she slapped you back. Is that what we're coming here for? Like, you smacked her first. Yeah, but she's not allowed to hit. She smacked me back. I'm like, okay, we have a whole different conversation we're having here now, right? She slapped me back. So how are they personally contributing to the challenge, right? Your personal contribution was you started the fight over here, right? So let's have a conversation about that. So that's one. What have they done towards solving the problem? This is super powerful. Like Ellie was saying, I dive into fixing. Before you dive into fixing, even if you just do something as simple as, what have you done towards solving the problem so far? Oh, nothing, I can't talk to her. She won't listen to me. I've tried. So we want to make sure that we're actually having the teacher rise to that standard, even if it makes her a little bit uncomfortable, right? Because conversations are uncomfortable, especially when we're like, you know, she said this and I wasn't so sure and I thought she meant that, and it's a whole lot of assumptions, a whole lot of dancing around in a circle that we're not really sure what, you know, what's even happening. And then the last question is, what can we do together to create a solution that we both feel comfortable with and works in the best interest of the kids? And I added that caveat for such an important reason. The entire past 2 days, we keep talking about the buy-in part of the staff and how they have to have connection with the why they're actually doing that. Well, the reason we're having this uncomfortable conversation here about how you two are going to get along with each other is because you guys both care about the exact same thing, the kids. And your ability to communicate and have a proper conversation with each other in front of the kids is essential for the children's ability to reach milestones, to learn how to read, to understand how to communicate, to express, to have inquiry-based thinking, to learn new fine motor skills. And they can't do any of that if you guys can't talk to each other. And I know that you care about the kids. That's why you're here. So we have to figure this out together. Someone raise their hand? Yes.
Trying to solve a problem where a teacher, auxiliary teacher, broke the trust and the professional confidentiality standard, told something to the parent that the lead teacher should not have said, which was unprofessional, to the parent, and now there's animosity between the two teachers.
So there's animosity because why? Why is there animosity?
There's animosity on the lead teacher's side because she can't trust the auxiliary. She should not have gone and told the parent and all the other staff what she said.
And why is the assistant teacher, why is there animosity from her?
I don't think there is.
Okay. So the animosity is just from this person. This is the person that's upset. You think she's totally fine? She has no negative feelings or anything like that?
I'm sure she does, but...
What kind of negative feelings do you think she has?
Well, I would wonder because why would she go and do all of that in the first place? So there's got to be something.
Right.
I'm not going to say there's nothing, but as far
Is she trying to exert some power and control?
I think she's just trying to be messy.
Okay. And so the problem you're trying to solve is now how do I get the two of them to communicate?
Yeah, how do you
Yeah.
bridge the gap and move forward?
Okay. So there's going to be two parts to your challenge, okay? The first part is you have to meet with each of them individually because you have to hear their side of the story and understand the context of where they're coming from. And you have to ask those right questions. So when you talk to the assistant teacher, you want to find out, so are you aware of our standard of confidentiality? Yes. Okay. So when you spoke to the parent, right, sometimes we break a standard or we break something or whatever it is, and because the standards are there as guidelines. Not every single time are you going, 99.9% of the time you do need to take action on, but there's always that subtle time that it's like, you know what, in this case, it's not the right time or whatever it is. So in this case, I see that you decided to break the standard. What was your reasoning behind that? Please walk me through your thought process, okay? The reason you want to ask that more than anything is to understand how her brain actually works. You want to understand how she's thinking through problems because that gives you more context to her level of competence. How much more training do I need to pour into this person? Because the reason she broke that confidentiality thing was because of the most ridiculous reason in the world, let's say. So like now we have a disconnect. Then you need to bring them both in the room and you need to say, look guys, this is what happened. We need to come as a united front in front of the parent because what's going to happen next is the parent's going to start gossiping to everyone else about how you guys were showing up, and that's going to reflect really poorly on all of you. So right now we're just dealing with one parent. If we let this go for 2-3 more weeks, we're going to start dealing with 12 parents. So what's it going to be? You guys on board? Let's do this together. Always put the ball back in their court. It's a bouncing back and forth. You frame the problem, you bounce it back. Frame the problem, you bounce it back. Good? Amazing. Okay. So what I want you guys to do now is, over here in your little box, I want you to get clarity around, in this first quarter, when you come back, because for a lot of you guys that run school years, September is going to be that, or late August, what is one part of this inner team conflict of the way that your staff are showing up now that you really want to put an end to? Or you really want to see them start rising? Let's flesh that out a little bit over here in the notes section. Do we want to make sure that when staff come to us with a problem, they at least bring 2 options? Do we want when staff, are challenged with something, they at least communicate with each other and try to identify what the problem is? What do we actually want to see? Because then in our final session, when we go to calendar, we're going to start putting that inside over here, okay? So let's do 5 minutes. I'm going to walk around the room and answer some more questions and help you guys just work through that a little bit more.
If you like this video, make sure to subscribe using the bell so that you get notifications when we release videos twice a week.